हैं अपने में
We
ज्वाइन।
are live now. We are live now.
चलो रवि गुप्ता जी का एक बार वो मेरे ख्याल में लिंक उसमें इंटरनेट दिक्कत आ रही है, वो आ जाएं तभी शुरू कर पाएंगे। रवि जी आगे लगते हैं, ठीक हो गया लगता है, वो इंटरनेट प्रॉब्लम चल रही है उनकी अभी भी ना। रवि सर, रवि जी सर आपका ठीक है, वो इंटरनेट आ रहा है आपका?
एक मिनट कॉल कर रहा हूँ उनको।
कॉल कर लो, मेरे ख्याल में ना उनकी दिक्कत आ रही है, फिर ही शुरू करें ना।
सर कुछ इंटरनेट में प्रॉब्लम है,
हाँ, उनका नेटवर्किंग दिक्कत आ रही है, येलो हो
तो
गया होगा।
आपकी फोटो नहीं आ रही। कोई बात नहीं, शुरू करें। आपको आवाज आ रही है?
नहीं आवाज आ रही है, ये पूछ लो ना, इधर इधर इधर
ठीक
अनम्यूट
है,
करके बोल
ठीक है,
लेना।
तो भी स्टार्टिंग स्टार्टिंग।
ठीक है, स्टार्ट कर लें। तो प्रेजेंटेशन कैसे चलेगी?
नहीं, अनम्यूट नहीं, आवाज आप बोलो। अनम्यूट आप ऑलरेडी हैं।
म्यूटेड है, म्यूटेड है।
आप म्यूटेड हैं। अच्छा, एक बार रवि जी को अनम्यूट करो।
अब आ रही है आवाज?
हाँ
आ
जी,
रही
आ
है
रही
सर,
है,
आवाज आ
बिल्कुल।
रही है।
और फोटो आ रही है?
फोटो
नहीं,
नहीं आ रही सर, गिरीश ऊर्जा जी ने नहीं छोड़ना, अगर फोटो ना आई तो। आपके पास ही बैठे हैं, उन्होंने कहना फोटो नहीं दिखा रहे हो।
उसके कमरे में बैठे हैं, अभी आ जाएंगे।
क्योंकि प्रेजेंटेशन नहीं आएगी ना अगर फोटो नहीं आई तो।
ये
अभी
नेटवर्किंग की दिक्कत लग रही है सर आपके यहाँ।
नहीं, मेरे यहाँ तो प्रॉब्लम नहीं दिख रही, मुझे आपकी सबकी फोटो दिख रही है।
नहीं पर आपके यहाँ पे ना हमारा येलो लिंक आ रहा है, वहां पे नेटवर्किंग दिक्कत है सर आपकी। हाँ तो आप री लॉगिन कर लो 1 मिनट में ना दोबारा, है ना, क्यों संजय जी?
हाँ जी, हाँ जी।
एक बार सर छोड़ के री लॉगिन कर लो सर।
हट गई, हट गई।
ओके, मैं दोबारा करता हूँ।
यूट्यूब को स्टॉप। नहीं, एंड नहीं करा। नहीं, नहीं, ठीक है।
अब आ रही है मेरी आवाज सर?
आ रही है सर, आ रही है, करें संजय जी शुरू?
प्रेजेंटेशन और फोटो आ रही है?
हाँ जी सर, आ गई सर। प्रेजेंटेशन शेयर करके देख लो जरा सर एक बार।
रहने दो। ठीक है रहने दो,
नहीं,
इनको
फिर
प्रेजेंटर
दिक्कत आ
बनाओ
रही
ना
है।
नीचे। हाँ
नहीं सर, फिर वो येलो हो गया, चलो दिक्कत आ रही। या तो ऐसे करो रवि सर,
हाँ जी,
आप ना प्रेजेंटेशन संजय जी को मेल कर दो।
हाँ मेरे पास है, मैं चला लूंगा।
ठीक है जी, वो संजय जी चला लेते हैं सर, आप इधर से बोलते रहना, वो प्रेजेंटेशन उधर से चला लेंगे।
ठीक है सर, ठीक है।
हाँ, अगर दिक्कत आएगी आपको ना इधर,
तो मुझे
जैसे अभी भी आपका येलो हो गया सर, वो नेटवर्किंग की दिक्कत लग रही है कोई।
मेरी स्क्रीन
आगी सर, आगी।
ठीक है फिर।
ठीक है सर, थैंक यू सर। संजय जी शुरू कर रहे हैं फिर।
यस
Thank you. I, Ashwini Jindal, on behalf of Voice of CA and Chartered Accountant Association, welcome you all on this day 2 of certification course on legal drafting of appeals. Rather, today is appeals. Otherwise, the course is on assessment, appeals, and search cases. Our today guest faculty is our Guru 2, Tax Guru 2, CA Dr. Ravi Gupta ji. CA, sorry, Dr. Ravi Gupta ji, डॉक्टर संजय अग्रवाल जी, को हमारे फाउंडर वॉइस ऑफ सीए, कमल अग्रवाल जी, ऋषभ जी आज हमारा कंट्रोल रूम संभाल रहे हैं, संजय अरोड़ा जी, विजय गुप्ता जी, और ऑल दी अटेंडीज एंड पार्टिसिपेंट्स। मैं सबका आभारी हूं कि हमारे इतने बिजी शेड्यूल के बावजूद भी इन बिग नंबर, हमारा कल भी मोर देन 200 वेबएक्स पे और मोर देन 100 हमारा यूट्यूब पे 300 प्लस पार्टिसिपेंट थे, जबकि आज की डेट में सभी अपने काम में फंसे हुए हैं। मैं संजय जी से डिस्कस कर रहा था कि हम वोका के बिहाफ पे और चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट एसोसिएशन के बिहाफ पे बड़ी जल्दी गवर्नमेंट को रिप्रेजेंटेशन देने जा रहे हैं कि आप इन डेट्स को फर्दर बढ़ाइए, कम से कम 2 मंथ्स के लिए एटलीस्ट, बिकॉज आज की डेट में चाहे दिल्ली हो चाहे नॉर्थ इंडिया स्पेसिफिकली, कोविड के केसेस इतने बढ़ रहे हैं कि ना तो प्रोफेशनल्स के ऑफिसर्स में काम हो रहा है, ना ही कोई एसएससी आ रहा है। तो अगर डेट बढ़ जाती है, जैसे मैंने कल भी अनाउंस किया था, देन वी विल अनाउंस फ्रेश शेड्यूल ऑफ प्रोग्राम्स ऑन सर्टिफिकेशन कोर्सेज एज वेल एज अदर सेमिनार्स ऑल्सो। 12 तारीख का सेमिनार मैंने कल ही आपको इन्फॉर्म कर दिया था। बड़ी जल्दी संजय जी आपको होपफुली कल ही, शायद मैं कहूंगा संजय जी को कि कल ही वो लिंक शेयर कर दें, ताकि ये वाले पार्टिसिपेंट हमारे उसको रजिस्टर्ड कर सकें इन टाइम, क्योंकि 12 तारीख में अभी टाइम भी कम रह गया है। तो वो काइंडली वो कल वो लिंक भी शेयर कर देंगे आपको, ताकि आप 12 तारीख वाला डॉक्टर सतीश ओझा जी का सेमिनार अटेंड कर पाए। तो ज्यादा टाइम ना लेता हुआ मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा संजय अग्रवाल जी को कि वो रवि गुप्ता जी को भी इंट्रोड्यूस कराएं और इंट्रोडक्टरी अपनी वेलकम स्पीच भी दें।
Thank you, Ashwani ji. Thank you very much. Honorable Dr. Ravi Gupta, I welcome you, sir, on behalf of Voice of CA and CA Association. And on the panel, we have Kamal Agarwal ji. He is a GST expert. And let me tell you, we have a program on 10th. We have already sent the mail. 10th of December, we have program with the Kamal Agarwal ji as one of the panelists. And therein, a metropolitan magistrate will also be there, Mr. Anubhav Jain, who will be dealing with the arrest power also, that how to get the bail, etc. in GST regime. Then Ashwani Jindal ji, Karta of us, the Sanjay Arora, Vijay Gupta ji, again GST expert, Sanjay Arora ji, our Chandigarh mentor, and Rishabh Agarwal on the panel, and the dear participant. Let me just give you a brief that on 10th we are organizing at 4:30 to 6:30. Already we have given the detail of the program, and details will also be shared you continuously. Kindly register there and ask your friends to also get it registered. Then on 11th, we are with right now Rishabh Agarwal is with the Avinash Gupta ji there, and the Avinash Gupta ji will be dealing on transfer pricing practical aspects. And then on 12th, we have a program with Dr. Girish Ahuja ji, and that program is 5 to 7. and Dr. Girish Ahuja is going to deal with 68, 69, ABCD and 115B, BBE with special emphasis on survey, how to represent the surrendered income or so, and so on. And this will be an A to Z program of 1 day only. So today, the second day of the program on the appeal, how to represent before appellate commissioner, we have Dr. Ravi Gupta ji. He has done his graduation and post graduation from Shri Ram College of Commerce. Thereafter, he did LLP from Delhi University and MBA Finance from Faculty of Management Studies. He completed his PhD from FMS. He was a faculty member of Shri Ram College of Commerce. देखो सर गुंडागर्दी कितनी है, वहीं से पढ़ के वहीं पढ़ाने लग गए गुरुजी हमारे। तो सर ये बहुत गलत बात है, आप पढ़ के वहीं पढ़ाने लग जाते हो। ऐसा ना हो सर कि जो है वो हमारी जगह आप इलेक्शन लड़ना शुरू कर दो सर, ये फिर जो थोड़ा बहुत हमारे को सर बचा के रखना। और he was practical experience in handling tax matter of trade industry. He has also addressed more than 2000 seminar. I think now it has increased more than 2000 also on direct taxes organized by ICI, Chamber of Commerce, University of Delhi, and then VOCA also. He was appointed by the Government of India as a member of committee constituted for simplification of income tax. He is an independent director of many reputed companies, including Varun Beverage and Dharampal Satyapal. He has been nominated by Government of India to Central Council of the Institute for 2 terms, and he was a member of the Direct Tax Committee also. So, sir, with this small introduction, not taking much of the time, the VOCA people and VOCA members, VOCA participants, VOCA panelists, all are eagerly there to listen you and to talk about the appellate. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Am I audible?
हाँ जी सर, हाँ जी
संजय अग्रवाल जी, थैंक यू आशीष जी, कमल अग्रवाल जी, संजय अरोड़ा जी, विजय गुप्ता जी, निशम अग्रवाल जी, all the senior persons attending this webinar today. My sincere thanks to VOCA for giving me this opportunity today to interact with you. Sanjay ji has just outlined so many programs that are forthcoming in the next few days. And I think VOCA is doing a wonderful job for the professionals, updating their knowledge even in this difficult time. This challenging time has been used very usefully by persons like Sanjay Agarwal ji, who has been doing so much for the profession. Thank you once again for inviting me today for this session. Topic assigned to us today is drafting of appeals before the first appellate authority, the Commissioner of Income Tax Appeals. I have a small presentation for you. We will take you through this presentation and keep discussing as and when we come to the relevant points. At the outset, let me point out that an appeal can be filed before any authority only when it is statutorily provided for. An appeal is not a fundamental right under any act. Under the Income Tax Act also, we have 2 provisions under which a statutory right is available to the assessee to file an appeal before the Commissioner of Income Tax Appeals. In fact, friends, you would be knowing from your practical experience that CIT Appeals is the first authority where we can expect some sort of a justice from the otherwise very rude department. See, when you go to an income tax officer, you want to argue your case, many times you will find that the income tax officer has a already predetermined mind. He is not willing to listen to your arguments, your submissions, legal contentions, etc. अगर आप उसके पास कुछ भी केस लॉस वगैरह दिखाते हो, वो कहते हैं सर देखो इसको आप ऊपर अपील में दिखा देना, मैं तो ये एडिशन करूंगा. So he has no legal bent of mind to hear your arguments. So Commissioner Appeals in fact is the first authority before whom you can raise your grievances. There are two relevant sections as you see on your screen under which this right to file an appeal before the commissioner is provided to the assessor. The most important is section 246A, under which most of the orders that are passed by the assessing officer are covered. So assessee can file an appeal under 246A in respect of any assessment which is made under 143(1), the intimation that is issued, scrutiny assessment under 143(3), reassessment under 147, rectification order passed by the assessing officer 154 में, penalties etc. All these appeals are covered under 246A. Then under section 248 also, it is a very limited section where the assessee can file an appeal against the order passed by the assessing officer under section 195. 195, you will be aware, deals with TDS on payments made to non-residents. So if an order is passed holding an assessee responsible for deducting tax under 195, then the appeal lies under section 248. So these are the two provisions under which the appeals can be filed before the Commissioner Appeals. Which are the major appealable orders? As I just mentioned, the main orders against which we normally file an appeal before the Commissioner Appeals could be an intimation that is issued under 143(1). Under 143(1) also you will be aware that various adjustments can be made by the processing unit also. So the central processing unit makes so many additions. Some of the major ones may be like 36(1)(5)(a), where you make payment of the PF, ESI, etc. We have plenty of judicial pronouncements which say that even if you make the payment by the due date of filing the return, that deduction will be allowed to you. But invariably we see that all these additions are made by the CPC and then there is no other alternative but to file an appeal. So we can file an appeal to the Commissioner Appeals against 143(1) order, 143(3) order, 144 ex parte order, 147 the income escaping assessment. Even in such matters where order is passed under section 153A or 153C, the remedy lies first appeal is before the Commissioner Appeals. Then 92CD on advanced pricing agreements, etc. 154, 155 under section 237 where an order relating to a refund is passed. Orders passed under section 272, 275 relating to penalties which are imposed by the assessing officer. 201 where assessee is held to be an assessee in default for failure to deduct tax at source or for failure to collect tax at source under section 206C. All these are appealable orders where an appeal can be filed before the CIT appeals. Some orders against which no appeal has been provided for. Right? Many orders are passed by the assessing officer for which we do not have a remedy of filing an appeal before the CIT appeals. Some of these orders I have listed here. Where an order is passed by the assessing officer under section 197(1). Right? The assessee applies for a lower deduction of tax at source or for no deduction of tax at source. The AO refuses to grant that. That is not an appealable order. So I have no remedy to file an appeal to the Commissioner Appeals. There is no appeal against interest charged under section 220. Any order refusing to grant stay of demand is not appealable before the Commissioner Appeals. Right? Rectification under section 154 made on assessee's consent If the assessee has already given his consent, after that there can be no grievance, no order can be appealed. If during assessment proceedings agreed additions have been made, then also the order is not appealable. So these are some of the orders against which appeal is not available. Then the question arises in this case, what is the remedy available to the assessee? Supposing the assessee has filed an application for stay of demand, the assessing officer refuses to grant that stay. He proceeds to make the recovery. I have no appellate proceedings here. I have no right to file an appeal. Then the only remedy available is to seek a writ from the High Court. So wherever there is no alternative remedy available, I can invoke the writ jurisdiction of the relevant High Court and file a writ petition before the Judicial High Court and seek relief from the High Court. Now, what is the procedure which I should follow when I receive an order, especially an assessment order from the assessing officer? Normally, what we do is we prepare a reconciliation statement. Right? What was my returned income and what is my assessed income? I prepare a reconciliation statement and then I see what are the remedies available to me. Otherwise, you will observe in many cases, some additions may have been made or some claims may have been rejected by the assessing officer, which may not become apparent from the face of the order. If they are not apparent from the face of the order, I may omit to include them in the appeal, or I may not even file a rectification application. So then I lose an important remedy. If I prepare a reconciliation, then I will be aware of what all deductions have not been allowed, what additions have been specifically made, and then I can take the remedial action. I have given you a format here. Supposing I had filed a return of income of 20,50,000, the assessing officer assesses my income at 33,70,000. Now, what were these additions or disallowances that he made? He made an addition of 10 lakh rupees by invoking provisions of section 68. Right? He says there is undisclosed income. So he makes an addition of 10 lakh. What is the remedy available to me? I have to file an appeal. So I have to include this in my ground of appeal when I file my appeal. Secondly, I have paid certain commission on the sales made by me. The Commissioner Appeals disallows 2 lakh rupees out of that. He has discussed this in the assessment order, considered my submissions, and not allowed this deduction. Then I have no remedy to file back to file an appeal again. Thirdly, I had made a claim of deduction under section 80C of 1 lakh rupee, which he did not allow to me and did not even discuss in the assessment order. Maybe he has only forgotten to give that deduction. He has not discussed anywhere in the assessment order why this claim is not being allowed. So therefore, I should file an application for rectification in this case, because this is not an addition which he has made. Otherwise, he should have discussed this in the order, given his reasons for not allowing a deduction, then I could have filed an appeal. But if he has not discussed at all, I should file a rectification. There is a totaling error of 20,000 rupees in the total income assessed. Again, I have to file an application for rectification. So now I will see here that there are 2 points which I should take up an appeal, 2 points against which I should file an application for rectification. If I had not prepared this reconciliation statement, probably the last 2 items, I would not have filed an appeal and they would not have been brought to light and I would not have taken a remedial action. So this is my suggestion, that we must always file a reconciliation statement whenever I receive an assessment order. What is the time limit for filing the appeal? Statutorily, it has been given. The appeal should be filed within 30 days of the date of service of the notice of demand, wherever it relates to any assessment or any penalty. So 30 days from the date of service of the notice of demand, not from the date of service of the assessment order. It is very clearly mentioned it should be from the date of service of the demand notice. So if I receive an assessment order without a demand notice, the time limit starts from the date of delivery of the demand. It could be 30 days from the date of payment of tax when the appeal is filed under section 248, which we just mentioned relates to the appeal against order passed under section 195 relating to TDS on payments to non-residents. The date I deposit the tax, within 30 days I should file the appeal. If it is in any other case, then it should be within 30 days of the date of intimation of the order sought to be appealed from the date it is served upon the assessor. Right? So these are the time limits which have been given under section 249. The appeal has to be filed within 30 days of these time limits. Certain time which is to be excluded while calculating this 30 days. I should exclude the date on which the order is served. So it should be 30 clear days. Exclude the date of service of the order. Then, if an assessee has filed an application under section 270AA seeking immunity from imposition of penalty, under the new penalty provisions of section 270A, you would be aware that if the addition has been made on account of under-reporting of income, not on account of misreporting, only under-reporting of income, then if the assessee wants to deposit that tax and does not file an appeal against the order, then he can seek immunity from payment of any penalty or levy of prosecution. For that, he has to make an application to the assessing officer. So we exclude the time beginning from the date on which the application is made to the date on which the order rejecting the application is served on the assessor. So in this case, what are the consequences? I file an application seeking immunity. If he grants me the immunity, of course, I'm happy, I don't file an appeal. Neither there is any penalty levy, nor against the assessment order I'm filing the appeal. But if the assessing officer refuses to grant me immunity, then my right to file an appeal is restored. Then I can file an appeal against the assessment order. The period between these two dates will be excluded while calculating the 30-day time period. Then, as I mentioned, if the notice of demand is served without a copy of the assessment order, I can again request the assessing officer to supply me the assessment order, and then I get a fresh lease of 30 days from the date that I received a copy of the order. Similarly, if the notice of demand is not served, then I can take the period of 30 days from the date that I received the notice of demand. What happens if I am not able to file the appeal within 30 days? The statutory time period provided to me expires. For certain reasons, I could not file the appeal. Then a remedy is available to the assessee under section 249(3). He can file the appeal along with an application for condonation of delay in filing the appeal. The assessee has to explain the circumstances for the delay, why the appeal could not be filed within the stipulated time period, and if the reasons submitted by him find favor with the CIT appeal, the CIT appeal may accept the appeal even if it is filed beyond the period of 30 days. Right? So whenever I file the appeal, along with the appeal, I must file the application for condonation of delay and must state the reasons for the delay. although the CIT appeal has the power to condone the delay even without the application of the SSC, but it is always advisable to file the application along with the appeal. If the CIT appeal does not entertain my application for condonation, that order again becomes appeal. So I can file an appeal against the order of the Commissioner of Appeals refusing to grant me condonation of the delay. Now, many court decisions have held that the statutory requirement is that there must be a sufficient cause for condonation of the delay. Now, there are various case laws where we have decided what is a sufficient cause. Right? In Gupta Rice Mills case, Allahabad High Court said that quantum of stakes involved and importance of the issue may also be relevant consideration. And secondly, Calcutta High Court in Sothia Mining and Manufacturing Corporation held that if there is a subsequent decision of the Supreme Court or the jurisdictional High Court resulting in a change of the legal position, then again the SSC can file an appeal even beyond the period of 30 days that is specified. You'll be aware there was a major case of Section 80IC where 100% deduction is allowed for the first 5 years to a unit set up in certain specified areas of certain backward states. 100% deduction is allowed for first 5 years, then next 5 years again 50% deduction is allowed or 25% deduction is allowed. But if the SSC undertakes a substantial expansion, he can get 100% deduction for the next 5 years also. Supreme Court first held that you can claim deduction only for the initial 5 years. Subsequently, you can claim only 25% deduction. Then Supreme Court reversed its own judgment and said that you can claim deduction of 100% for first 5 years, and if you undertake substantial expansion, you can again claim 100% exemption for the next 5 years. So, if based upon the earlier Supreme Court judgment, I have not filed an appeal, but then there is a later judgment, then of course I can file an application along with condonation, and this would be a fit case where my appeal should be admitted even if it is beyond the time period. If the SSC has lost some time in pursuing other remedies rather than filing the appeal, then it decides to file the appeal. That may also be a reason for condonation of the appeal. Some other cases I have listed here: pendency of a writ before the High Court, special SLP before the Supreme Court. If I do not get a relief, I may come back to the Commissioner of Appeals and file an appeal here. There could be other reasons, other administrative reasons. The CEO of the company has resigned, has left the job. He was the one who was looking after the tax matters, so there was no one else who could have taken a decision. Therefore, the appeal is delayed. Or if it could be because of illness, the person in charge of looking after the tax matters fell ill. Provided I can establish that by circumstances, I can furnish the relevant evidence, then I may again seek a condonation of the delay. The fees for filing appeals, you know, this is mentioned in the Act itself, depends upon the quantum of the assessment. The fees varies from 250 rupees to 1,000. And if the matter relates to any other matter, then it is a fixed fee of only 250. So if there is an assessed loss, the fees will be 250. If it is a case of penalty, it is not covered under A, B or C, then again the fees payable will be only rupees 250. So I have to deposit this fees before I file the appeal, and proof of the payment should be accompanied with the memorandum of appeal. How much tax do I have to pay before filing the appeal? Now here there is a little misapprehension between many persons. that I must deposit at least 20% of the disputed demand. Well, friends, that is not the case. 20% tax I have to pay only to seek a stay of the recovery of the demand. It is not a prerequisite to file the appeal. For filing the appeal, the only prerequisite is that if I have filed the return of income, I should have paid the tax due on the return income, which 99% of the cases we have paid. Whenever I file the return, the tax due on the return income has already been deposited. So that is the only prerequisite. If no return has been filed, then I should have paid an amount equal to the advance tax which was payable by him on the income which is assessed. So this is the only requirement. If there is additional demand created by the assessing officer, for that I seek a stay of the demand. That is altogether a separate procedure. That will not debar me from filing the appeal before the commissioner. Even if I have not paid this tax, I filed the return, I could not pay even the tax on the returned income, and I still want to file an appeal. Then also I can make an application to the Commissioner of Appeals, who for good and sufficient reasons may exempt me from payment of even this tax. Right? Here are some of the good and sufficient reasons. The company has been incurring losses. There is financial instability with the assessee. My property has been attached. There is no other source of income. The courts in many cases have held these are some of the reasons where an appeal should be admitted even without payment of the tax as per the return income. Now, as we are aware, the appeal before the Commissioner of Appeals is to be filed in form number 35. There is a prescribed format. The appeal is to be filed electronically. All pre-filled details, PAN number, name of the assessee, address, phone number, email address, etc., all should be correctly filled in the form number 35. Assessment here has to be correct. The details of the order appealed against, the section, subsection 143.3, etc., all should be clearly mentioned. The DIN number, the document identification number, which is now mandatory, should also be there in the form. The date of the order, the date of service of the order, all these have to be filled in the prescribed form. Then I must not forget to fill in the form the details of any other appeal for any other assessment year which is pending before the Commissioner. That will help us in combining all the appeals together and maybe take up the appeals on a consolidated basis. Right, again, form number 35. If the appeal relates to any assessment, I must provide the details of the appeal, amount, income, or amount of income assessed, total additions made, amount of additions disallowed, disallowances, etc. What is my disputed demand? If it relates to penalty, I must provide the details of the penalty order. Right? Similarly, all these are the details which I have to fill in. I must enclose with the return a statement of facts and my grounds of appeal. We will discuss both these points in detail a little later, but these are the two major important points in form number 35, my statement of facts and the grounds of appeal. Regarding delay in appeal, we have already discussed this, that if there is a delay in filing the appeal, I must file the grounds for condemnation. Because now these forms have been filed electronically, therefore a limit has been imposed here as to how much facts I can mention. So either 1000 words, 100 words, 500 words, all these are mentioned in the form itself. then be aware that form number 35 does not accept special characters. Some of the special characters I have shown here, these must not be there in the form, otherwise my form may not be uploaded. With the form 35, what are the documents that I have to submit? Firstly, the order against which appeal is being filed, the notice of demand. If these two things are required, if my appeal is against the assessment order. If the appeal is against the penalty order, then I have to file the order of penalty, the assessment order, and the notice of demand. I have to attach all these in a PDF zip format, and these must not exceed 50 MB. The appeals have to be verified through my digital signature or electronic verification. The person signing the appeal is the same person who is authorized to sign the return of income under section 140. So appeal is also to be verified by the same person, and it has to be either verified by digital signatures or electronic verification. Now coming to the two major relevant documents, that is the statement of facts and the grounds of appeal. Statement of facts is a very important document which I have to submit along with the appeal. Although there is no prescribed format for drafting the statement, but my statement of facts should bring out very clearly and very crisply what are these facts which led to the addition. The fact should contain only those relevant facts which are directly or indirectly connected with the addition. Right? I might have filed so many documents in the assessment proceedings, but only where additions have been made, I must mention clearly what were the facts. You can say the assessee had made sales of 300 crore rupees. On this sales, the commission has been paid at the rate of 1%. This commission has been paid over the last 10 years, and no disallowances have been made during the last proceeding year. Now, these are the facts which I need to highlight. Right? What was my claim? What was my basis of claim? What has been my past history? All these are relevant facts which I must bring out in my statement of facts. Right? I have to mention brief facts regarding my entire story. Then, as I said, the facts should be clear, should not be argumentative. I am not trying to present my arguments. I am just giving the facts. All payments have been made by a check. Tax has been properly deducted and paid to the account of the government. No disallowances have been made in the past years. These are the relevant facts. If I can highlight these, this will help me in presenting my case before the commission. Similarly, when I am drafting my grounds of appeal, right? Grounds of appeal are basically the facts, the basis on which I object to the assessment order. Again, there is no specific format for drafting the grounds of appeal, but again, grounds of appeal should be very precise, comprehensive, clear, and they should be consecutively numbered. Ground number 1, ground number 2, 2A, 2B, whatever I want, but they should be consequentially numbered. Grounds of appeal should be based on law points as well as merit points. On fact, what is my objection? On legal grounds, what is my objection? And grounds of appeal should normally be raised in the order of additions made in the assessment order. In the assessment order, first edition under section 68, second edition so and so, third edition so and so. So my grounds of appeal should also run in the same order. Then it becomes easier for the commissioner to relate them to the assessment order. For each addition that has been made in the assessment order, I must take a separate ground of appeal. some points of caution. My statement of fact should not be mixed with my grounds of appeal. When I'm taking a ground of appeal, I just show you some sample grounds of appeal that we should take. And there I need not mention the facts. When I'm making a ground, I say the learned assessing officer has erred on facts in the law in making this decision. That is all. I should not say that in the earlier years this has not been disallowed to me. I have made the payment by check. I have deducted tax as source. All these become statement of facts. So statement of facts are separate. Grounds of appeal are separate. I should not mix both of these. I must always take a general ground in my grounds of appeal, where I take the ground as that the appellant craves leave to add, alter, amend, withdraw any of the grounds of appeal before or at the time of hearing of the appeal. So this leaves me with some ground that even if I have not taken any ground of appeal, I can take it at a later date. Or if I want to amend my ground of appeal, I take leave to do that. I should not try to repeat the same grounds by using different language. My grounds of appeal should be specific. My grounds of appeal should be very crisply worded so that the Commissioner of Appeals can understand what is my grievance by just reading that ground. If interest has been levied while passing the order, normally it is, I cannot take a ground that the interest is wrong or interest is excessive, interest is mandatory, and it is levied at a specified rate of interest. However, I can take a ground that interest provisions are not applicable in my. I'll show you a ground on this. Then I can always raise grounds regarding opportunity of being heard or other general principles of natural justice. For example, I was not given an opportunity to be heard. My arguments were not appreciated correctly. Right? So these are some of the natural principles of justice which are embedded in every judicial pronouncement, in every judicial decision. So I can take these grounds of appeal also. Here are some of the general grounds that we take. If my order is based upon a notice under section 147, 148 notice is issued, my assessment is made under 147, I must first challenge the invoking of section 147, 148 notice, etc. So I can take a ground that on the facts and circumstances of the case, the order passed by the learned assessing officer under 147 and 150 is bad both in eyes of law and on fact. So I have taken three grounds here merely on section 147. The assessing officer has erred in initiating the proceedings under 147 as there was no fresh material based upon which notice under 148 has been issued. Now we have to be aware of the present law applicable. And as you will be aware, 148 notice can be issued only when there is some information available with the assessing officer on the basis of which he formed an opinion that some income has escaped assessment. If the assessing officer is relying upon the same material which was already available with him at the time of assessment or which was already available in the return of income, then normally courts are held that you cannot issue notice under 148 and proceedings under 147 are not valid. So therefore, I should take that ground also, that there was no fresh material available with the assessing officer, or that the notice under the proceedings under 147 are based mainly upon change of opinion. Again, judicial pronouncements are very clearly held that merely because of change of opinion, you cannot reopen my assessment proceedings. So, assessing officer must have some fresh material before him. On the basis of that fresh material, he records a reasoning that because of so and so reasons, income has escaped assessment. So all these I have taken as my grounds objecting to the proceedings initiated under section 147. Then I come to the quantum addition. Here I take a ground that the learned assessing officer has erred on facts and in law in making an addition of rupees 8.3 crores under section 68 of the Act, ignoring the facts of the case as well as submissions of cases. So this is my pressed ground. I am not giving here what were my submissions. I am not stating here what are the facts. I am just saying that he has ignored the facts and has not considered. If I start giving a part of my submissions here, then my grounds become irrelevant. Similarly, I have taken the objection of the principles of natural justice that the learned assessing officer has erred on facts and in law in computing the assessment on the basis of assumptions and surmises and totally ignoring the facts of the case. That the learned assessing officer erred in passing the order without giving opportunity of being heard. So these are some of the grounds which I must keep in mind. I must include in my grounds because these are grounds which will help me in covering so many matters for which I may not have a specific ground, but I can include that in these grounds. As regards the interest, I take a ground that the provisions of section 234A, B and C are not at all applicable. I'm not saying that the interest is heavy or that the interest is more than what should be levied. I'm not saying that the interest levied is exorbitant because I cannot take that ground. So I can always say that these provisions are not at all applicable. There are two grounds which we normally include that the impugned assessment order is arbitrary, illegal, bad in law, violation of rudimentary principles of contemporary jurisprudence. Now, here in this ground, I can include so many matters which I may like to raise before the Commission of Appeals, which I have not specifically taken in the ground. And lastly, as I said, that we will take a ground that the appellant craves leave to add or alter any or all grounds of appeal before or at the time of appeal. These are some of the sample grounds that I've given to you. Depending on the facts of each case, we will have to draft the grounds and keep in mind that each and every edition, I must raise a specific ground for that. My grounds have to be very crisp. They do not have to be argumentative, but at the same time, they must be very comprehensive so that every edition is covered. Stay of demand. Simultaneously to the filing of the appeal, the assessee must also file an application for the stay of demand. As I already mentioned, that filing of appeal does not result in any automatic stay of demand. Appellate proceedings and recovery proceedings are entirely separate. So, when I file an appeal, I must file simultaneously an application to the assessing officer requesting for a stay of demand. We have the CBDT now circular issued in 2016, which says that the assessing officer shall grant the stay of demand till the disposal of the first appeal if the assessee deposits 20% of the disputed demand. So, if I can, if the demand is not very heavy, I must deposit 20% of the disputed demand and seek the stay of demand from the assessing officer. However, if it is a very high-pitched assessment and the assessee cannot even afford to pay 20% of the disputed demand, he can still file an application. And there are some court decisions which have said that stay can be granted even without insisting on the 20% payment. You have Flipkart India, which is a very popular case now on this issue. And we have some other judgments also. Bombay High Court has also said that wherever there is a high pitched assessment, the assessing officer should not insist on 20% payment. Then some grounds which I can take for seeking the stay of demand. Paucity of funds is of course a very common fund. Stay can also be then courts aware that the stay is normally granted by the assessing officer, but it can also be granted by the Commissioner of Appeals. When you file an appeal before the Commissioner of Appeals, then the entire matter is pending before him. He also has an inherent power to grant a stay of demand. So I must file an application to the assessing officer. If he does not agree, I can even approach the Commissioner of Appeals to grant a stay. Normally we have seen they do not entertain the application, but yes, that right is available. I should seek that remedy also. While granting the stay, the assessing officer may take an undertaking from the assessee that he will cooperate in the early disposal of the appeal, that the assessing officer can review the stay granted, and assessing officer may also reserve a right to adjust any refunds which arise to the assessee from assessments of any subsequent year, etc. Once an appeal has been filed, does the assessee have the power to withdraw the appeal? And if I go through the various judicial pronouncements, it is not a matter of right. Once an appeal has been filed, if you want to withdraw it, you can withdraw it only if the CIT appeals allows you to do. Otherwise, as you know, once an appeal has been filed, the entire assessment is open before the Commissioner of Appeals. We will see a little later, Commissioner of Appeals need not only grant you relief, he also has the power to enhance your income. So once you file an appeal, the entire proceedings are open for him, and therefore we cannot say that it is a matter of right of an assessee to withdraw the appeal. Right? So these are some of the important cases where it has been held that the appeal once filed can be withdrawn only with the consent of the Commissioner of Appeals. If there is a defective appeal, if I have filed an appeal which the Commissioner of Appeals considers to be defective, maybe I have not filled in full particulars, maybe some documents have not been attached, maybe the fees that I have paid is inadequate, can the Commissioner of Appeals straight away dismiss my appeal as being defective? No. Commissioner of Appeals should intimate the defect to the assessee. The assessee must get a reasonable opportunity to cure the defect, and only if the cure is not effected within the prescribed time, then only the appeal can be dismissed. Right? I have given you 3-4 judgments here: Haryana State Courts, Chandigarh Tribunal, Mumbai Tribunal, wherever they have held that if the appeal is found to be defective, due opportunity should be given to the assessee to remove that defect. Filing of additional evidence before CIT. As a normal practice, I should rely upon the evidence which I have already filed before the assessing officer. Therefore, it is very imperative that even during the assessment proceedings, while the assessment proceedings are going on, whatever evidence I want to rely upon, I must produce that evidence before the assessing officer itself. This is one of the very important points at the assessment level. Sanjay ji would have explained to you yesterday that whenever you feel that there is some addition going to be made by the assessing officer, it is all the more important that I must place before him all the additional evidence, all the evidence that I can to substantiate my claim. And when I am in the appellate proceedings, I normally rely upon the evidence which I have filed before the assessing officer. However, there are certain exceptional circumstances where I may produce certain additional evidence before the Commissioner of Appeals. Rule 46A permits me to produce some additional evidence. What is additional evidence? Additional evidence here means that some evidence which I could not produce before the assessing officer. Now, some circumstances have been mentioned here that when can I produce the additional evidence? Right? Rule 46A says additional evidence can be produced at the first appellate stage, although there is no prescribed format, but additional evidence can be filed when the prescribed conditions are satisfied. Let us see what are the conditions which are to be satisfied. There are 4 circumstances. First circumstance could be when the assessing officer has refused to admit admit the evidence which ought to have been admitted. So I wanted to file some evidence before the assessing officer. Assessing officer refused to take it. Right? In many cases, what we do is we, even at the last stages of assessment, we try to produce certain evidence before him, which assessing officer says, no, I'm not willing to admit it because I have already drafted my order. So I must create an evidence to show that I wanted to file this evidence, which AO has refused. Or where the AO did not give me sufficient opportunity to produce additional evidence. Where the appellant was prevented by sufficient cause from producing the evidence. The assessing officer wanted me to produce a confirmation from one of the creditors. I approached the creditor to get the confirmation, but the creditor was not in town. He was out of the country. I could not obtain that. I requested the assessing officer for some more time, which he did not grant to me. Therefore, at the appellate stage, I can file this as additional evidence. Or where the appellant was prevented by sufficient cause from producing the evidence before the AO, which is relevant to any ground of appeal. So I have to establish before the Commissioner of Appeals that I fall under any of these 4 circumstances. The evidence that I am going to file is very basic document. It is necessary for establishment ground of appeal, and then the assessing of the Commissioner of Appeal will take a decision on it whether to admit the additional evidence or not. I have given here a format of the application which we normally file for admission of additional evidence. And this additional evidence should be filed by way of a separate paper book. I normally file a paper book of the evidence which I have filed before the assessing officer. I may file another volume of the evidence which was not filed before the assessing officer, and I should enclose a prayer for admitting the additional evidence. In this application, I am stating that it is requested to accord kind permission for production of additional evidence as the assessee was not provided proper opportunity of being heard. Then I also emphasize that the evidences go to the very root of the matter and have a direct and substantial bearing in determining the correct income and tax liabilities. Right? So then here I have to mention the circumstances why I did not produce it. Then I have given 2-3 case laws here where it has been held that the appellate authority should, in reasonable circumstances, accept my additional evidence. Even Delhi High Court in case of Heavy Petworth has upheld the decision of the IT observing that the additional evidence ought to be admitted if the circumstances so permit rather than rejecting the evidence. Once you file the additional evidence, the Commissioner of Appeals normally sends a copy of this to the assessing officer, invites his observation on this, and then he decides whether they are to be admitted or not. So whenever you are filing an application for additional evidence, please produce 2 copies of that before the Commissioner of Appeals, so that one goes to the CI, to the assessing officer, and then the matter is decided by the Commissioner of Appeals. Similarly, if I have filed an appeal, I have taken certain grounds of appeal, at a later stage I want to take some additional grounds of appeal. Can I do that? Right, again, section 250, subsection 5 says that CITP may at the time of hearing of the appeal allow the appellant to go into any ground of appeal not specifically raised in the grounds of appeal, if the CITP is satisfied that the omission was not willful or unreasonable. Therefore, courts have also held that if there are reasonable circumstances, I can file additional grounds of appeal also. In many cases, we come across some judgments, maybe of the Supreme Court, maybe of the High Court, which have changed the legal position, changed the legal interpretation also, and therefore, I want to take that as a ground of appeal. For example, in the last few years, we have been seeing that whenever there is a penalty proceeding, the assessing officer is required to specify the charge against which he is levying the penalty. Penalty under 271(1)(c) was levied either on the basis of concealment of income or on ground of furnishing of inaccurate proof. Court said that if in the notice you do not specify the ground for which you want to impose the penalty, the notice is invalid. I was not aware of this. I did not take up a specific ground when I filed the appeal. When I come across this legal position, then I want to raise an additional ground. So here I have made an application to the Commissioner of Appeals, making a prayer for admission of additional ground. What is my additional ground? Having regard to the facts and circumstances of the case, the imputed penalty order passed under section 271(c) is void ab initio and bad in law, as the learned assessing officer did not clarify in the notice issued under 271(c) whether assessee had concealed the particular income or furnished inadequate particular income. Right? Then I have also clarified that these are purely legal grounds, do not require any fresh investigation, and therefore should be. Right? So this is a format for filing of my additional grounds of appeal before the Commissioner. This is the procedure which is normally followed in hearing the plea. I must make my submissions in the form of a paper. I'll show you a format of the paperwork also, where all my documents are serially numbered. My submissions are a part of that paper book. That helps the Commissioner of Appeals in going through the documents very clearly, very crisply. I present that in the form of an index. A day and time is fixed, of course, we all know that, and then we can attend the hearing. All this is going to change. Now we have a scheme of faceless appeals, so there will be no personal hearings, there will be no representations which we have to make personally before the CITPs. All these will now be through the e-proceedings. I will briefly take through that procedure also, but this was the original procedure that was being followed by us for a large number of years. Right, these are regarding additional grounds of appeal, and now all these are statutory provisions. How we will deal with these in the faceless appeal proceedings, we are still not clear about this. Right? For example, it says in every appeal, Commissioner of Appeals, where it is possible, may hear and decide such appeal within a period of 1 year. Order should be passed within 15 days of the final hearing. All these are circulars, instructions which have been kept on being issued over a period of time, and these have now been established. We are now going to undo all this. Now we'll have altogether separate procedure, which may or may not stand the scrutiny of law. We will come to that later. This is a format of the paper book which we normally prepare. Whatever are my submissions, I give at the beginning of the paper book. Then whatever documents I want to rely upon, I put that in the paper book and serially number them. And for example, when I'm contesting a case for notice issued under 148, what were the reasons recorded, what was the original order passed under 143, what was the reply given by the SSC, what all documents I have given during the assessment proceedings. All these form part of my paper. Then it is essential to append a certificate in the paper book certifying that all the documents in the paper book were before the SSC officer during the assessment. So this very clearly says that there is no additional evidence. If there is an additional evidence, as we have just said, I must submit a separate paper of the additional evidence and an application for admission of the additional evidence. Then when I am relying upon the judgments of various high courts, various judgments of the Supreme Court, these are a part of my argument before the CITP. What is the binding effect of these judgments? Right? We have a system of judicial discipline, judicial hierarchy, which must be followed by the Commissioner of Appeals. We say all judgments pronounced by the Supreme Court are binding on all courts in India, including the Commissioner of Appeals. All judgments pronounced by the Jurisdictional High Court and of the Jurisdictional IPA Court are binding on the CITP. Where there are conflicting decisions of courts of coordinate jurisdiction, the later decision is to be preferred if reached after full consideration of the earlier decision. Right? If there is a later judgment which has already taken into account, which has already discussed the earlier decision, then the later decision should prevail. Where there are judgments on the SSC for previous years and the facts are the same, then they are binding on the CITP for the subsequent years also. The precedent ceases to have a binding force in the following situation. If it is reversed by a higher court, when it is affirmed or reversed on a different ground, when it is a non-speaking judgment. And for example, we come across so many SLPs dismissed by the Supreme Court. They dismissed by a single line order. SLP is dismissed. Now, this is not a speaking order. So that does not become the law of the country. Can I make an application for early hearing before the Commissioner? Yes. The SSC may request for an early hearing, provided he can establish that the circumstances exist. Some of the circumstances under which application for early hearing is normally filed, if there is an immense pressure of payment of demand. If I can show to the Commissioner of Appeals that the department is after my blood, they have seized my bank accounts, they are taking all possible coercive measures against me, and if my appeal is not decided at an early date, then my entire business may be hampered. Then that may be a cause for giving an early hearing. If the matter concerned already is covered by an order in my own case. Last year proceedings were pending before the CITP. CITP has already passed an order in my favor. Then of course that order becomes binding, so I can seek an early hearing to this year. Or it is covered by any circular or notification of the board which does not require any discussion, the Commissioner of Appeals may grant me an early hearing. Now coming to a very dangerous provision of the power of enhancement. As I just said, when I file an appeal before the Commissioner of Appeals, I am normally seeking some relief from it. Some additions have been made. I feel that the Commissioner of Appeals will hear me properly and will grant me relief. But the law gives him a power either to confirm the addition, to grant relief, or even to enhance the assessment. Right? So the section says, in an appeal against an order of assessment, the CITP may confirm, reduce, enhance, or annul the assessment. So the power of enhancement is now with the CITP. Before he see now, what do you mean by enhancement? The assessing officer has made an addition of, let us say, 10 lakh rupees on the same facts. CITP feels that this addition should have been of 25 lakh rupees. So he can issue a notice to the assessee, give him an opportunity. Why should the addition not be enhanced? After hearing the assessee, the commissioner has the power even to enhance the assessment. Right? Similarly, in case of a penalty, the commissioner may confirm, cancel, or enhance or reduce the penalty. So this is a very important power available with the commissioner, and that is why I said that once you have filed the appeal before the commissioner, you may not be able to withdraw that appeal. Because if the commissioner wants, he may even enhance the additions made by the assessing officer. There is a dispute here as to what enhancements can be made. Can he make an addition for a new source of income? Even if it was not considered by the assessing officer. And we have a Supreme Court judgment where it has been held that CITP can make an addition in even respect of new source of income if it is not considered by the AO. And so this is a very important power before the CITP, that if the assessing officer has missed out something, there is a source of income which he has not taken into consideration. Supposing the facts of the case establish that the assessee has taken a loan from a company and provisions of section 222E are retracted. Assessing officer did not inquire into that, did not make any addition. If the commissioner appeals based upon those facts, is of the opinion that addition should have been made, he has that power. Even if this is a new source of income, even if it has not been considered by the assessing officer, the commissioner appeals may go into it and make an addition if assessing officer did not do it. Right, so these are 2-3 judgments which I have brought to your notice, where it has been held that the power of enhancement can be exercised by the commissioner appeals. Some decisions are there in favor of the assessee, where they have said that this CIT appeal cannot go into the matters which have not been considered by the AO. But by and large, Supreme Court has in 3-4 judgments held that AO has that, the CIT appeal has that power to go into cases even if AO has not considered. This power of enhancement is not available with the ITAT. ITAT can only grant the relief. They can set aside the assessment. ITAT cannot in any case enhance the assessment. This power is only available with the commissioner. Two important points that I would like to bring to your notice. These are some concepts which we can use to seek certain relief wherever certain additions are sought to be made. Some of these become important mainly in such cases, some where other documents are found. Peak theory is one of these concepts. In a concept of peak theory, what happens? That the department comes across certain books of account, certain documents which contain some entries regarding certain payments being made, certain receipts of the assessee. There are some receipts recorded, there are some payments recorded in that document. Assessing officer says that all these payments are undisclosed, all the receipts are undisclosed. So therefore, he normally makes an addition of all the receipts, all the payments also. If the assessee is not able to explain, then he can take advantage of this theory. He can always say that these are a part of my business And all these receipts and all these payments are part of my undisclosed business. All the payments have been made through the receipts, and therefore only what is the peak needs to be added. Now, this is a very important theory which has been judicially recognized, but for claiming the benefit of the peak theory, factual foundation has to be first laid by the assessor. The assessee must show that this is my business, all the receipts pertain to my business, all payments pertain to my business, and the payments have been made out of the receipts. If we can establish that, then we can own up all the debits and credits and then work out the maximum peak which was available. Closing, you can explain that at a point of time I have received payments of 50 lakhs, I have used this payment of 50 lakhs to make payments of 35 lakhs. So 35 lakhs is only out of this amount that I received. So whatever is the peak amount, that will only be added. This is one advantage which I can take. I will just show you one case where, let us say, the transactions spilled over 4 years. So for each year, if I work out the peak, I have to make additions on a yearly basis. I cannot make additions in 1 year. So I have to make additions on each year-to-year basis. 16-17, peak of that year was 20 lakhs. So the amount which will be added will be 20. 17-18, the peak was 30 lakhs. It is a process of continuing transactions. Out of 30 lakhs, 20 lakhs has already been added. So then I will add only 10 lakhs in the year. Similarly, in 18-19, the peak is only 15 lakhs. 30 lakhs has already been added. So in this year, nothing will be. Fourth year, peak works out to 35 lakhs. I have already added 30 lakhs. So I will only add 5. So ultimately, the result is that if I take this 4 years into account, my peak is 35 lakhs. I have added that 35 lakhs in separate years. Right? So I can take advantage of this peak theory, and then I can get a substantial relief if I can establish that all these receipts and payments pertain to my business activities, and these were a part of my undisclosed amounts which I received and paid. Of course, penalty is a separate issue. Penalty, you cannot escape penalty, but additions will be substantially reduced. Similarly, I have a principle of telescoping. Telescoping principle we use where an income is taxed or an addition is made to the taxable income of an earlier year. And in some earlier years, assessing officer made certain additions. He said that certain expenses are of personal nature. Certain expenses are unvouched. So he made additions of that. In subsequent year, I may use that as a source to prove my income of the next year. If in the subsequent years there is some suppression of profit, some cash credits, I can always claim that this is only out of the income which has already been taxed in the previous year. So this is called the principle of telescoping. I would like to briefly take you through the new e-appeal proceedings, the faceless proceedings. Right? These have now been notified. As far as my knowledge goes, till now we have not received any notices regarding the faceless appeals being fixed. But yes, we have stopped receiving notices of physical hearings. Only in respect of appeals of the central circle, right? Appeals in cases of such matters. The CIT appeals are taking up small appeals where the demand is up to rupees 10 lakhs. Bigger appeals are still not being taken. Other appeals, irrespective of the quantum of appeal, have now not been fixed, neither under the physical form nor under the faceless. But primarily, The intention now is that all appeals should be fixed under the new regime of the faceless appeal procedure. The purpose was to eliminate the interface between CIT appeal and the appeal. Just like you have faceless assessment proceedings, we will now have faceless appeal proceedings. Another reason given for this is that we will optimize the utilization of resources through economies of scale and functional specificity. What the department has in mind is that in some cases, there is a huge burden upon commissioner appeals in Delhi. Commissioner appeals in Guwahati may be having very little cases. Commissioner appeals in Kashmir may be having a very few cases. So they said we will spread the work throughout the jurisdiction of the country. So now we have jurisdictional-less jurisdictions. So a person sitting in Guwahati may be hearing appeals of the jurisdiction of assessees in Delhi. And it has been mentioned that we will specially ensure that the appeals are not heard in the city to which they pertain to. So if you are in Delhi, if the assessee is in Delhi, definitely appeal will not be heard by a commissioner of appeals in Delhi. It will be heard by a commissioner of appeals somewhere else throughout the country. So now the system that they say is of a dynamic jurisdiction. I'll just take you through the various modalities of the scheme. We have created the National Faceless Appeal Center. We have the regional faceless appeal centers, and we have the appeal units. Appeal units consist of nothing but the present commissioner appeals. So all the present commissioner appeals have been transferred to appeal units. We have a regional faceless appeal center, and above that we have a faceless national appeal center. The National Faceless Appeal Center will facilitate the conduct of the e-appeal proceedings. All appeals between the appeal unit and the appellant will be through the National Assessment Center. So now what is going to happen is, whenever you file an appeal, the appeal is filed before the National Faceless Assessment Center. Then, through a computerized process, they will decide where to mark that appeal. So the appeal is then marked to a designated appeal center. That appeal center or that commissioner appeals will be given the submission that you make. Whatever appeal you file, whatever submissions you make, you will not make that to the commissioner appeals. You will file that to the National Faceless Appeal Center. They will in turn forward it to the relevant appeal. If the appeal unit wants any other information, if they want any other information to be collected, then they will again write back to the National Faceless Appeal Center. They will send it to the Faceless Assessment Center, which will get that information from the assessing officer and pass it on to the appeal unit. Similarly, if a matter is to be referred for valuation, they will seek the help of the valuation department, the technical unit. All this will be taking place all through the computerized system, without any interface either with the assessee or with the appeal unit. The assessee, the appellant will not know which is the appeal unit. Appeal unit will not directly communicate with the assessee. They will communicate only with the national EC. Then it is not only one assessment center which will happen. Right? Okay, first of all these appeal units have the same powers which you have just said regarding admitting additional grounds, further inquiry, providing opportunity to be heard, analysis of material, review of the orders. All these powers which are presently available with the commissioner appeals, all these powers will now go to the appeal unit. Although now these will be on a computerized basis, on a faceless basis. Right? This was a procedure I was just mentioning. The National Faceless Appeal Center shall assign the appeal to a specific appeal unit. These are the procedures But what bothers us now is this matter which is now going to happen. What will now happen is that the one appeal center, that is the Commissioner of Appeals to whom it is marked, will only prepare a draft order. He will send that draft order to the national. On the basis of their own strategy, they will decide that if the appeal involves a certain amount of tax penalty, etc., then they will refer it to another appeal center. They will send the draft order to another appeal unit, right, other than the appeal unit which has prepared the draft order. So draft order prepared by one unit sent to another unit for their own comments, right? And then the second unit will either concur with the draft order and intimate to the National Faceless Assessment Center, or will suggest variation to the draft order. Now, this is a very controversial issue. At present, if one commissioner appeal decides an appeal, can anyone else make a variation in that? And this is not the judicial system that we've been following. Right? And then it is only after the review of the draft order that the National Faceless Appeal Center will finalize the appeal order. Now the question arises, who is the National Faceless Appeal Center? It is not the Commissioner of Appeals. It is not the Commissioner of Appeals who heard it. So Commissioner of Appeals who heard it prepares a draft order, someone else reviews it, sends it to the National Faceless Appeal Center, then that National Faceless Appeal Center finalizes the appeal. This entire process, I think, requires judicial scrutiny. Whether it is legally correct or not, whether it will stand the legal scrutiny, we will have to see with the passage of time. But this is what we are in for. Now the hearing of the appeal will also not be very easy. Therefore, it becomes very necessary for the practitioners, very important for the practitioners to draft their appeal in a very appropriate manner. Because now you do not have the opportunity of going personally and explaining the facts and circumstances to the Commissioner of Appeals. You merely have to draft it, put it in writing, present it to the Faceless Assessment Appeal Center, and then your appeals will be decided only on the basis of your communication. So I was just hearing Ahuja sir yesterday. उन्होंने बताया कि हमें अपनी ग्रामर इंप्रूव कर लेनी चाहिए, अपनी राइटिंग स्किल्स को एनहांस कर लेना चाहिए, उसी के बेसिस पर आप अपने सबमिशंस बना पाएंगे और सबमिशंस ही अब सारा मैटर करेंगे. पहले तो आप जाके कमिश्नर अपील्स को हिंदी में, पंजाबी में किसी तरीके से भी समझा सकते हैं. Whatever you had in mind, you could express that to the Commissioner of Appeal, and he was willing to listen to you and get the communication from you. अब वो सब चीजें खत्म है. अब your drafting of the appeal, your drafting of the grounds of appeal, your drafting of the submissions, your reliance on the case laws, whatever are the relevant jurisdictional case laws, all this will have a very important bearing on the submissions that you make and the final outcome of the appeal. Therefore, on the one hand, we can say that yes, this becomes a little difficult, but if you see it from the viewpoint of the profession, it is also very beneficial now, because over the last few days, what is happening is that we have been receiving appeals from throughout the country. अभी हमारे पास कुछ appeals आई हैं, maybe from Kanpur, from Bangalore, who require you to present that appeal. Now it is jurisdictional. So I can prepare an appeal sitting in Delhi. I can prepare an appeal for Bangalore, put it online. So therefore, now it is jurisdictionless. So that may increase the opportunity of work for all professionals also. But yes, we will have to wait and see how this entire process finally takes shape, and let us see how we can take advantage of the new scheme of the faceless appeals. I think that is all that I wanted to make this presentation. And friends, now if you have any questions, Sanjay ji, we can take up any queries, any suggestions from the members.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are unmuting Mr. Sandeep Khandelwal. He is having 3-4 questions. Sandeep ji, you are unmuted. Sandeep Khandelwal.
Yeah. Sir, yeah. Am I audible, sir?
Yeah, आप audible हैं.
Sir, notice of demand is not available in case of adjustments under section 143(1) or 154. Then what is to be attached in place of notice of demand?
I think your voice was not clear, but notice of demand. If the notice of demand is not served,
Sir, 143(1) adjustment has come and there is no demand notice with it.
no, in case of 141, the intimation itself is deemed to be a notice of demand.
Yes, sir.
तो उसी के बेसिस पर हम उसकी अपील फाइल करते हैं.
154 is asking also.
154 के साथ नोटिस ऑफ डिमांड नॉर्मली आता है, because then the demand, the original demand is varied. ओरिजिनल डिमांड चेंज करके तो नोटिस ऑफ डिमांड देते हैं. अगर नहीं दिया है तो मैंने स्पेसिफिकली आस्क दी असिस्टेंट ऑफिसर टू इशू नोटिस ऑफ डिमांड और उसी के बेस पर मुझे अपील फाइल करनी है.
जी सर. हाँ संदीप जी, और पूछिए आप. संदीप जी.
Against 143(1) adjustment, if we are filing 154, they are not issuing any separate demand notice. They are just passing on restitution order and either confirming or enhancing, reducing that adjustment.
सर जो भी इंटीमेशन है 143(1) में, even if after retribution भी इंटीमेशन ही आती है, that intimation is deemed to be a notice of demand.
Okay, sir.
इस केस में सर अगर 154 में कोई चेंज नहीं कर रहा है तो 143(1) ही डिमांड नोटिस बनेगा आपका. फिर
सर एडजस्टमेंट्स कर दिए 154 में और बढ़ा दिया रहता,
बढ़ा नहीं सकता वो.
नहीं 143(1) में भी बढ़ा सकते हैं. अगर उसने तो 154 करी तो 154 के बाद जो ऑर्डर करेगा वो भी इंटीमेशन ही होती है, वो भी नोटिस ऑफ डिमांड ही मानी जाती है.
सर अगर हमने 154 किए तो कैसे बढ़ाएगा? वो एनहांसमेंट का नोटिस देगा तब 154 में बढ़ा सकता है. वो
भी कर देती है 154 का नोटिस, वो भी देकर एनहांस कर रहे हैं कई केस में.
हाँ जी.
और उस केस में भी जो इंटीमेशन आएगी 154 के बाद वही मानी जाएगी, वही नोटिस.
Because it is a addition corollary to 143(1). However, they can take in the ground, one of the ground, that there is no separate demand of appeal and as such it is not been enclosed.
वो कर सकते हैं बट उसकी जरूरत नहीं होती सर. ठीक है सर.
हाँ जी संदीप जी.
My second question would be, sir, in case of previous demand adjustment, because what is happening, there is a conflict of section 194I with 194C in certain cases like AIMS, common area maintenance charge and all this. Here, if you find a difference of 8%, 2% to 10%, so 8% difference would be there, and in most of the cases they are raising demand. In that case, first question would be, what would be the appeal fee, whether 250 rupee or 1000 rupee if amount exceeds 2 lakh rupee demand? And my second question would be, can we defend this case because 194C as a matter of practice by last so many years, common area maintenance charges are being treated as a contractual services, not the rental services. Although post amendment of section 194I, there is definitely some dispute with reference to this, but department is in most of the cases are taking that view only, like this is a part of rent, not a contractual services falling under 194C.
Sanjay, थोड़ी voice में disturbance है, but what I can understand,
हाँ जी,
difference of opinion इसमें है कि 194C applicable है या 194I applicable है, whether it is a contract or whether it is rent. अब अगर ये disallowance की बात करते हैं 40IA में, तो उसमें we have plenty of judgments where they have said that as long as tax has been deducted at source, maybe under a wrong section, then 40IA is not applicable. As long as tax has been deducted. तो आपने चाहे 194 में करा हो चाहे 194 आई में करा हो, आपकी डिसअलाउंस नहीं होनी चाहिए.
Sir, this is not matter of 143(1), rather matter of assessment.
अगर 143(1) में करी है डिसअलाउंस,
No sir, 143(3) में assessment हो गया sir.
हाँ
143(3) में assessment हो गया है और उसमें they are not accepting this plea of common maintenance, common area maintenance charges at 194C deduction, rather they are treating it 194I deductible.
तो देन यू हैव टू फाइल एन अपील. मिल जाएगा रिलीफ इसमें. जो
सर इसकी फीस 250 रुपए नहीं होगी क्योंकि क्वांटम एडिशन है, तो आपके क्वांटम के ऊपर, क्योंकि 40AI का आपका जो एडिशन है वो क्वांटम एडिशन है, उसकी फीस आपको उसके क्वांटम के हिसाब से देनी पड़ेगी. 250 में एनी अदर मैटर में नहीं आएगी वो. ठीक है खंडेलवाल जी.
Right sir, one more last question if you allow me.
No, allow. Where is the question of disallowing? We are only allowing.
So nice of you sir. In case of these raids and all, if some raids has been taken place at some other place, some other like anti-operator somewhere, there without conferring any cross objection, like examination to the SSC, if something has been added by the SSC officer under 147 or 148, then can we dispute this on the grounds of technical grounds rather than because merits are not there?
सर इसके ऊपर सुप्रीम कोर्ट की बड़ी डिटेल्ड जजमेंट है इन द केस ऑफ अंडमान टिम्बर. सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा है कि unless and until an SSC is given an opportunity of cross examination, the statement cannot be admitted as evidence. It cannot be relied upon. But अब जो recent trend चल रहा है, neither commissioner appeals nor even many cases tribunal is accepting this. So we might have to wait for some time. ये हाई कोर्ट की जजमेंट्स भी इसके ऊपर काफी सारी हैं where they have held कि अगर opportunity of cross examination नहीं है तो no evidence can be admitted. But unfortunately commissioner appeals इसको bypass कर जाते हैं, वो सुमति दयाल वाली जजमेंट लगा देते हैं on the basis of preponderance of probability. तो उन्होंने कहीं कि इसमें कह दिया कि opportunity of cross examination is not necessary. But Supreme Court is very clear. So if we take the plea of the Supreme Court, you can win your cases maybe at the tribunal level.
Right, sir.
मेरे पास कुछ judgments हैं जहां मैंने अपने केस में कराया है, where on the basis of Andaman Timber they have deleted this addition.
Right, sir. Fair enough. Thank you.
ललित जी आप अनम्यूटेड हैं, क्वेश्चन पूछिए अपना. ललित जी चेक करिए दोबारा. ललित जी ओके सर. आई थिंक मिस्टर अतुल पुरी साहब.
हाँ जी सर.
आपको अनम्यूट किया, क्वेश्चन पूछिए सर.
जी गुड इवनिंग रवि जी.
Evening, sir.
I just wanted to check that in Rajasthan High Court, this faceless has been challenged. Has any other court been approached for this, or the Supreme Court?
No, not the Supreme Court, but yes, I think both the other courts also, they have challenged it on some particular ground.
Okay.
Main ground is that opportunity of personal hearing, as per the scheme, is available only if the department allows you.
Right.
So discretion is not of the SSC, but discretion of the department.
Yeah,
You see personal hearing, they may or may not allow. That point has been challenged.
Okay. and it is on principle of natural justice.
Yes. So
my
that
sec-
they will have to modify that opportunity of personal area will have to be granted whenever the assessee wants.
जी.
I think that's
सेकंड क्वेश्चन है कि ये जो पहले क्या होता था कि सीआईटी अपील का नाम लिखा होता था आपके डिमांड नोटिस में, दैट्स व्हेन सो विल हैव द जुरिसडिक्शन.
हाँ जी.
व्हाट इज द स्टेटस नाउ?
Now they will say the appeal can be filed before the National Faceless Appeal Center.
So, and secondly, there is a limitation of putting the paper book because it is not accepting very heavy paper books.
नहीं सर, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है
सर. मैंने 3 दिन
10 MB की 10 फाइलें, मतलब 100 MB आप 10 फाइलों में डाल सकते हैं.
हाँ,
उसके अलावा पार्शियल सबमिशन करके आप फिर 10 MB की डालें. आई थिंक ये 50 MB पे इंक्रीज कर रहे हैं.
ओके, सो दैट इज इट. वो वही प्रॉब्लम थी दैट आई कुड नॉट अपलोड इट इन वन गो.
नहीं तो वो पार्शियल करके करिए, पार्ट्स में एनेक्चर ए, पार्ट 1, पार्ट 2 ऐसे करके करिए. जो सिस्टम है
ग्राउंड वाइज कर दें, या तो
जैसे आपकी मर्जी है वैसे करें. ग्राउंड वाइज तो वैसे भी आपको पेपर बुक करनी ही पड़ेगी.
हाँ, नहीं वो तो पेपर बुक तो पहले तो जैसे एक सिंगल दे देते थे ना.
अभी आपको बताया है कि इंडेक्स फाइल करना है. इंडेक्स में आप उसके पार्ट 1, पार्ट 2, पार्ट 3, पार्ट 4 लिख दीजिए. क्या दिक्कत है?
ओ चलिए ठीक है. अच्छा, थर्ड ये है कि अगर 154 हमने अप्लाई किया है और 154 वो रिजेक्ट कर देते हैं, तो हमको ऑर्डर 143(1) के अगेंस्ट अपील करनी है कि 154 के अगेंस्ट?
154 के अगेंस्ट करनी है.
154 यानी वही फैक्ट लिख के कि उसने 143(1) में एंड ही हैज रिफ्यूज्ड टू एक्सेप्ट आवर कंटेंशन अंडर सेक्शन 154.
सर नहीं तो लिमिटेशन प्रॉब्लम शुरू हो जाएगी. आपने 143(1) जो है 6 महीने पहले रिसीव किया हुआ है, और दूसरा आपको ग्राउंड में ये लिखना पड़ेगा कि 154 में क्यों एलिजिबल होगा वो. What is the mistake apparent on record?
Right. जो ESI प्रोविडेंट फंड के एडिशन है ना, वो तो कर रहे हैं बोर्ड सर्कुलर के बेसिस के ऊपर,
तो वो 154 कर सकते हैं.
150 वही कर रहे हैं. हालांकि 154 मानते नहीं है जीपीयू वाले. हमको तो अब सीआईटी के पास अपील करनी पड़ गई है.
हाँ जी, सब पे ही होता है. वो 154 नहीं कर रहे हैं.
हाँ, 154 नहीं कर रहे हैं वो. हालांकि 154 भी लगा देते हैं और साथ में अपील भी कर देते हैं.
उनका कहना ये है कि वो जो यहाँ पे कर रहे हैं, बेंगलोर में सिचुएटेड है सीपीसी. बेंगलोर में जो हाई कोर्ट है उसकी जजमेंट फेवरेबल नहीं है.
अच्छा रवि जी, एक क्वेश्चन ये है कि जैसे एक केस में मेरी एडिशन हुई, वो अगले 3-4 साल के रिफंड एडजस्ट करते जा रहे हैं, जबकि 20% से उन्होंने 58% तो एडजस्ट कर लिया है. और हमने कई दफे चिट्ठी लिख दी कि हमारे पास 20% हमने पे कर दिया, हमारी सीआईटी अपील के पास पेंडिंग है. वो कोई ग्रीवेंस में भी जवाब नहीं दे रहे हैं.
सर देखिए, प्रैक्टिकली यही होता है कि आपको 20% का स्टे तो दे देगा
जी,
से और पैसे नहीं मांगेगा. पर अगर आपका रिफंड बनता है तो वो रिफंड आपको नहीं ग्रांट करेंगे टिल द टाइम दैट देयर इज अ स्टैंडिंग डिमांड. जितना भी आपका रिफंड बनेगा वो उस रिफंड के अगेंस्ट ही एडजस्ट करेंगे.
तो दैट शुड वी गो फॉर ए रिट विद द हाई कोर्ट?
रिट में जाके आप अगर एक्सप्लेन कर सकते हैं कि बिकॉज ऑफ दिस वी आर फेसिंग ए फाइनेंशियल क्राइसिस, तो जैसे कुछ आपको हाई कोर्ट रिलीफ दे सकता है. बट प्रैक्टिकली डिपार्टमेंट आपको कोई रिफंड नहीं देता व्हेनेवर देयर इज अ डिमांड आउटस्टैंडिंग.
अच्छा, एक और क्वेश्चन है. जैसे माय केस वाज बीइंग हर्ड फिजिकली एंड द सीआईटी अपील हैड आस्क्ड फॉर ए रिमांड रिपोर्ट फ्रॉम द एओ. अब ये हो गया फेसलेस. सो आई वेंट टू द एओ. He says unless I receive a letter from the faceless center, I will not be able to send a remand report.
हाँ जी. अब ये प्रोसीडिंग्स दोबारा से होंगी. जो भी आपने अपील फाइल करी है वो पेंडिंग जितनी भी अपील्स हैं, ये ट्रांसफर टू दी फेसलेस अपील सेंटर. अपील सेंटर से दोबारा रिमांड रिक्वेस्ट आएगी और फिर वो फेसलेस मैनर में ही वो रिपोर्ट है, रिमांड रिपोर्ट through the National Assessment Center, it will go to the National Appeal Center.
Okay. So that means they will take up from where the earlier CIT appeal left.
हाँ जी, हाँ जी. अब वो नए प्रोसीजर में ही जाएगा सारा.
ओके. तो इसका तो इसमें टाइम लग सकता है.
बिल्कुल लगेगा.
Is there any limitation in the appeal settlement now कि till by when they have to do?
नहीं सर, कोई ऐसी उसमें टाइम लिमिट नहीं है. अभी प्रेजेंटली भी कमिश्नर अपील्स के पास टाइम हो, रिकमेंडेटरी है that they should try to dispose it of within 1 year.
एक और दो लोगों के हैं।
चलिए ठीक है सर, थैंक यू वेरी मच रवि जी।
या लक्ष्य तनेजा जी, वी आर अनम्यूटिंग यू।
सर गुड इवनिंग, कैसे हैं आप लोग?
ठीक है सर, प्लीज आस्क योर क्वेश्चन सर।
सर फर्स्ट टाइम एसएससी है, ही हैज फाइल्ड हिज रिटर्न अंडर सेक्शन 142, नोटिस सर्व हुआ था ड्यू टू डिमोनेटाइजेशन, और एओ ने रिटर्न को डिस्क्वालीफाई करके एडिशन कर दिया 144 में। सो इज इट लायबल, कैन वी अप्लाई फॉर 154 या अपील ही करनी पड़ेगी इसके अगेंस्ट?
नहीं, अपील करनी पड़ेगी। दिस इज नॉट अ मिस्टेक ऑफ रिकॉर्ड।
ठीक है, ओके सर।
ललित मोहन जी आपको अनम्यूट कर रहे हैं, आपको ललित मोहन जी सर, आपकी रिक्वेस्ट 2 बार आई है कि मुझे अनम्यूट करो, आपको अनम्यूट करा है, आप क्वेश्चन पूछिए सर। आई थिंक देयर इज सम प्रॉब्लम इन योर सिस्टम सर। आई एम रीडिंग हिज क्वेश्चन रवि सर। सर, इज देयर is any time after which we cannot respond to 143(1)(a)?
141
या सर उसका तो 30 दिन टाइम देते हैं शायद ये लोग।
हाँ, वो तो उसमें मेंशन होता है कि 30 days if you have any objection per further।
इसमें सर मेरे ख्याल से पहले वो प्री एडजस्टमेंट का एक वो देते हैं, और उसके बाद अगर वो आप उसका टाइम देते हैं, विद इन दैट टाइम नहीं दे तो 143(1) आ जाता है। फिर तो आपको या तो 154 करना पड़ेगा या अपील करनी पड़ेगी। अमीश गौरव जी आपको अनम्यूट कर रहे हैं सर।
गुड इवनिंग सर। हेलो
हाँ जी पूछिए अमीश जी, क्वेश्चन पूछिए सर।
सर हमारा एक्चुअली प्रॉब्लम ये जो स्टे ऑफ डिमांड है, मेरा एक केस लगा हुआ अपील में। 20% जो पेमेंट करनी है एज पर जो मेमोरेंडम में लिखिएगा। सर एक्चुअली मैं एओ के पास गया था, एओ ने एसओके देने से मना कर दिया। स्टे ऑफ डिमांड को 20% उसको जमा ही कराना है। मैंने सीआईके अपील से पूछा, सीआईके अपील बोलते हैं मेरे पास पावर नहीं है, 20% तो आपको जमा करना ही पड़ेगा। तो क्या मुझे प्रिंसिपल चीफ कमिश्नर से मिलना पड़ेगा? ये कैसे कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं सर 20% अमाउंट जो है, क्योंकि ये मेरे एसएससी के लिए बहुत ज्यादा है।
सर देखिए, को इस केस में पहले असेसिंग ऑफिसर को अप्रोच करना चाहिए। असेसिंग ऑफिसर नहीं करता देन यू शुड एप्लीकेशन टू द एडिशनल कमिश्नर। एडिशनल कमिश्नर भी नहीं मानता तो देन अप्रोच द प्रिंसिपल कमिश्नर।
मतलब प्रिंसिपल कमिश्नर के पास जाना ही पड़ेगा बिकॉज़ एवरीवन इज डिनाइंग।
हाँ, प्रिंसिपल कमिश्नर भी अगर नहीं ग्रांट करता लेस देन 20% देन द ओनली ऑप्शन इज गो टू द कोर्ट।
ओके फाइन
सर वो रीजन दे रहा है 50% पे क्यों करेगा, सीबीटीटी की इंस्ट्रक्शन क्यों नहीं मानेगा?
नहीं, क्या कह रहे हैं आप? 20% पे भी नहीं दे रहा?
नहीं सर 20% पे ही बोल रहे हैं वो कि 20% आपको जमा करना ही पड़ेगा। मेरा एसएससी सैलरी का एम्प्लॉई है सर, पैसा नहीं है उसके पास इतना, वो कैलकुलेट हो जाता है सर 20%।
20 भी नहीं जमा करना चाह रहे हैं
सर, 20 भी जमा नहीं कर पाएंगे।
हाँ, तो 20 तो फिर आप इस प्रोसेस से पूरा तीनों जगह होकर देन यू कैन गो टू दी हाई कोर्ट। हाई कोर्ट में आपसे कुछ रिलीफ मिल सकती है, पर जब भी हाई कोर्ट में जाएंगे तो दे विल आस्क यू हैव यू एग्जॉस्टेड ऑल द रेमेडीज।
ओके,
तो इसलिए आपको ये सारा एविडेंस होना चाहिए कि आप असेसिंग ऑफिसर के पास गए, जॉइंट कमिश्नर के पास गए, कमिश्नर के पास गए, ये सारा एविडेंस क्रिएट करके यू कैन अप्रोच।
सर एक छोटा सा इनको और सजेशन देता हूं, अगर आप कोई गारंटी या कोई इंडेमनिटी दे सकें तो अल्टरनेटिव में कमिश्नर नॉर्मली अलाउ कर देते हैं लुकिंग टू दी सर्कमस्टांसेस। बट अगर आपका कोई ऐसा एडिशन है जो जैसे आजकल वो एलटीजी वगैरह वाला है या कुछ है तो नहीं देंगे फिर वो।
ओके फाइन। एक सवाल और है सर, एक्चुअली जैसे 194 जे के अंदर टेक्निकल सर्विसेज के अंदर 2% टीडीएस काटना चाहिए अभी फिनांस कंट्री से। हमारे केसेस में कुछ एसएससी ऐसे जो 194 सी में काट रहे हैं 2%, 194 जे की जगह रेट ऑफ टैक्स टीडीएस इज सेम 2%, बट 194 जे की जगह सी में काट रहे हैं। उससे कोई दिक्कत तो नहीं आएगी आगे चल के, बिकॉज रेट तो सेम है।
नहीं, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता इनमें, कोई दिक्कत नहीं आती।
ओके सर, ओके ठीक है
सर वैसे लेकिन आपको जो है ठीक सेक्शन में काटना चाहिए, गलत में क्यों कर रहे हो?
नहीं, बिकॉज एसएससी ऐसा कर रहे हैं। मैं अभी तो मैंने सजेशन दिया है, बट पुराने टाइम से जो एसएससी ये अप्रैल से जो करते आ रहे हैं, मैं उसके लिए पूछ रहा हूँ। आगे से तो मैंने ठीक करा दिया इसको।
आई थिंक रिटर्न के अंदर आप 194 जे में ले जाएं, और जो सी का मेरे ख्याल चालान है वो एडजस्टमेंट हो जाती है, तो आप उसको देख लेना, शायद अलाउ कर देता है वो। आपका कोई भी चालान एग्जॉस्ट ना हुआ तो हो जाता है वो।
ओके
प्रॉब्लम ऐसी आएगी जिसका टीडीएस काट रहे हो, जब वो अपने रिटर्न में दिखाएगा वहां मिसमैच आता है
हाँ
तो उसको प्रॉब्लम आती है
ओके
बिल्कुल।
डिडक्टी के लिए।
ठीक है, थैंक यू सर, दैट्स इट।
आई थिंक एक्सेप्ट ललित मोहन जी, उनका अनम्यूट नहीं हुआ, बाकी सबके क्वेश्चन भी हो गए हैंडल सर। और अब मेरे पास बोर्ड में नहीं है, तो मैं एक बार प्रेजेंटेशन अनशेयर कर दें सर, सो दैट रेस्ट ऑफ द फॉर्मेलिटीज कैन बी कंप्लीटेड। है एक मिस्टर सीए विजय आए हैं, उनको अनम्यूट कर देता हूं मैं। विजय सोनी जी, विजय सोनी जी आपको अनम्यूट किया है, आप अपना क्वेश्चन पूछे सर, लास्ट क्वेश्चन लेंगे। नहीं आए हैं, मैं इनका क्वेश्चन पढ़ देता हूं सर। 1192 सब सेक्शन बी फॉर असेसमेंट ईयर 1440 assessee 1415 assessee skipped filing of return. Now he wanted to claim refund for TDS. What is the appropriate reason we should give for not filing the return?
सर अब ये रीजन तो उनको बताना पड़ेगा ना, क्यों नहीं करी फाइल इतने सालों से।
हाँ सर, ये बहुत पर्सनल क्वेश्चन है विजय जी, आप एक बार या तो पिंग कर लें, तब कर लें तो उसको कर पाएंगे, क्योंकि ये कोई कुक नहीं कर सकते, जो एक्चुअल है वही देना पड़ेगा आपको। सो with this I think we have cleared our board now. We have cleared our board now. May I request Ashwani ji to conclude the seminar and today's session, second day, and announce for the third day. And also I will request you that I have found that there are you can say the referents which are working behind the you can say curtain with the Ravi ji, and I have noticed that Chandrima Chaudhary ji have worked very hard in updating this PPT. It is being updated from last time and a lot of things have been included. So we are thankful to Chandrima Chaudhary ji also, and rest of the Ashwani ji will take care.
Sir, I want to speak for a minute.
Yes, sir.
Really, Ravi Gupta ji's deliberation has always been extremely knowledgeable, and I really learned a lot. And sometime I will seek his time to reconcile the appellate provisions between income tax and now GST, so that our professional brothers who practice in both, they can follow the same appellate methodology for filing in GST as well as in income tax. And I'm sure Ravi Gupta ji would be able to spare some time for this noble cause. Secondly, I want to applaud Sanjay ji as well, because what I believe in Hindu mythology, we have three: Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. And in income tax, you can say we have Girish ji, Ravi ji, and Nirmala Sitharaman. And out of three, two have been kind of visited your forum, and I really applaud both of them as well as Sanjay ji to bring these two gentlemen for professional benefit of our professional colleagues. Really, hats off to you, Sanjay ji. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashwani ji.
थैंक यू सर। आई एम थैंकफुल टू, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल तो मैं अटेंडीज का थैंक्स करूंगा, क्योंकि जिन्होंने इतनी पेशेंटली, इट वाज डे 2, मैंने जैसे पहले इनिशियल भी बताया था कि इतने बिजी शेड्यूल से, इतने बिजी डेज में कि हमारे साथ बने रहे। और सबसे बड़ा थैंक्स रवि गुप्ता जी को, लाइक लास्ट टाइम हमने जब 2 डेज सर्टिफिकेशन कोर्स किया था, तब भी सबसे ज्यादा पार्टिसिपेंट्स ने इस चीज के लिए हमें अप्रिशिएट किया था कि रवि गुप्ता जी ने बड़ी अच्छे तरीके से हमें बताया है कि अपील्स को कैसे हैंडल करना है, कैसे ड्राफ्ट करना है, क्या चीजों का ध्यान रखना है। क्योंकि हम सब जानते हैं कि जब हमने पिछली बार कोर्स किया, आई थिंक उस समय फेसलेस अपील्स अभी इंप्लीमेंट नहीं हुई थी, शायद अभी इंप्लीमेंट भी होगी है और नीड ऑफ द आवर्स भी है। और संजय अग्रवाल जी ने कल हमें असेसमेंट्स के बारे में बताया, और इनका जो सर्च का जो लास्ट टाइम इन्होंने बताया, वो एक्सटेंसिवली और बहुत ही अच्छे तरीके से बताया था। मैं तो ये कहूंगा कि था वो सर्च केसेस की ड्राफ्टिंग ऑफ अपील ड्राफ्टिंग के लिए, लेकिन वो रेलेवेंट था हमारी असेसमेंट्स के लिए जो अब हम फेसलेस में डील करने वाले हैं। कि सेल्स में अगर आपका सर्च के ड्यूरिंग कोई फर्क आ गया तो उसको आपने कैसे मैनेज करना है, कैसे शो करना है, कैसे एक्सप्लेन करना है, कैश का कैसे एक्सप्लेन करना है, ईच एंड एवरीथिंग उन्होंने बड़े मिन्यूटली बताई थी, जो हमें असेसमेंट्स में भी काम आएगी और सर्च केसेस में भी काम आएगी। तो आई विल रिक्वेस्ट ऑल दी पार्टिसिपेंट्स कि कल अपना टाइम जरूर वो स्पेयरली निकालें। अगर अपने जितने भी रजिस्ट्रेंट्स हैं मैं उनको भी रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा, क्योंकि हो सकता है काफी रजिस्ट्रेंट ड्यू टू वर्क प्रेशर आफ्टर 6 o'clock और 7 o'clock हमारा यूट्यूब वीडियो देखें बाद में, तो उनको मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि कल वाला सेशन जरूर वो लाइव अटेंड करें। और आने वाले सेशन हम ऑलरेडी अनाउंस कर चुके हैं 12 तारीख के लिए। विद दीज वर्ड आई एम थैंकफुल टू रवि गुप्ता जी फॉर एक्सटेंडिंग द सपोर्ट टू वॉइस ऑफ सीए all the time for deliberating on the difficult topic of appeals, and very nicely and in simple ways he has explained each and everything how to draft the appeals to our all the attendees and participants. Thank you very much. Thank you all the panelists as well as attendees once again. Thank you very much. I will request again, kindly log in tomorrow at 4:30, before 4:30, so that we could start the program exactly at 4:30. I request the control room to kindly close the meeting.
Thank you very much.